Hey, welcome to another segment of Bridging the Gap. I'm Johnny Angel, and this is my partner, Byron Nash.
What's up, everybody?
And we got a show for you today, and I'll tell you about our guests in just a minute. But first, we haven't really talked about some things that I would like to talk about.
Sure.
Let's kick this around. You know, when I started recording in Pittsburgh area, you were responsible for everything that you did up until the recording.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to get your name on a record, you literally had to write it, you had to produce it, you had to, what's that called? Whenever Publishing, the whole bit, right? So what you don't learn as a young person is that if you didn't have your name on there as the writer or the publisher, the record sales, you didn't get anything.
Yeah.
I mean, where you made your money was in doing gigs, you
Right.
know what I mean? And it's changed a lot since I recorded, you know.
Yeah.
You've experienced some things with that.
Well, I think now the difference is because you have the internet. Before you sort of like, you become an artist, then you search out, a manager or an agent, and then they take it to the next
Yes.
level. So you never really learn what they're supposed to be doing for you. You just kind of trust that they are. Now with the internet and everything else, you can kind of figure out how to record, make it sound good, and then put the music out. And you don't have to put out a whole record. So, the days of having to be in the studio for a year writing an album, you can literally crank out songs because the listener takes in music differently now. They're listening on their phone, they're listening on their computer.
Yes.
They don't listen to albums the way that we did,
Yeah.
so it's a little shorter attention span, but it changes the dynamic for the artist because now they can go directly to the consumer. As before, it's like you kind of needed these gatekeepers to get you to the next
Yes.
level, and that's where I think the whole ball game has changed in music.
Are you comfortable with that? Do you feel like you're getting your stuff out there, like whenever
in
an
a way,
AR guy would? You know?
Yeah, well, it depends on what your goal is. I
Yeah.
think, before a lot of people were like, hey, I want to be signed, and that meant like everything.
Sign meant something then.
Yeah, I meant I want to be signed. I want, now they have 360 deals. They're taking money from every angle of it, so it's not even that great of a deal.
Yeah.
But I think I like the idea of being able to go directly to the fans. So before it was like wherever they put you, or if radio was reaching. If you couldn't get on radio, you really couldn't get anywhere. You don't even have to touch radio
Yeah.
now. So I think there's good and bad in there, but I do also think it empowers the artist a little more. You have to do a lot more work.
Yeah.
You have to learn some things that you didn't know before, but I think if you can do it well enough, then it takes you to the next level. So when you do need management and you do need an agent, you at least know what they're supposed to be doing for you.
The business side of it still is important.
That's never going to go away.
In my generation, most musicians didn't understand the business at all. They trusted somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, and until later, until you got burnt, then you realize
You're
that
like, oh wait, they don't care about me.
That's the truth.
And I don't know how it works now with royalties with the internet and like Spotify and all those platforms. But back in the day, like you're saying, if you're not part of the publishing, you weren't going to get part of that money, or credit.
That's
more
right.
than anything. There's a lot of artists who wrote songs who didn't get the credit for it.
Yep.
Because someone else stuck their name on it or whatever it was. So.
And the labels own most of it.
Mhm.
You look at the story of Ray Charles.
Yeah.
When he negotiated with Atlantic Records, it was
Yeah.
like he was brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
who would have thought to do all that? You know what I
Stevie
mean?
Wonder did the same too.
Stevie, yeah.
Blind guys knew something.
I can relate to that.
What else have you been up to? Yeah. So what else have you been up to, man? I know you were like feeling a little,
Yeah.
under
was
the weather.
Under the weather for a while.
Yeah.
And
You're on the upswing, looking good.
I'm doing great.
slender.
I lost weight, which I'm at the same weight that I boxed at, which was decades ago,
Wow.
right? But I'm walking every day. I'm doing like 3 miles on the track.
Yeah.
And I'm lifting a little bit of weights, and I got my voice starting to come back. I'm doing my exercises every morning. My falsetto is almost as high as it was.
Oh, nice.
My real voice is really smooth right now. The only thing I'm trying to get right now is that hook whenever you go from real voice to falsetto,
yeah.
that smoothness, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? So
that'll come with time.
Yeah.
And exercising will strengthen the diaphragm for you to
Absolutely.
do that. With me doing personal training, I train people and I coach. I think it's super important for musicians, people in general, but musicians especially, like you're lugging gear,
Yep.
you're playing these gigs, you're coordinating all this stuff. It's kind of tiring. It's
Yeah.
like it takes a toll on you.
It does.
So I think, and if you have late nights and things like that, to really like put health at the forefront, which never really was before. We were just like,
I
rock
never
and roll.
cared about it.
But you should take care of yourself. I think that's like a big part of like life in general. But I think as an artist, You know, you figure it's your voice. If you're a drummer, it's your body. If it's a guitar player, you're standing with 20-pound guitar on you, like things like that. So I've been trying to really connect my personal part so that I can elevate better in the professional. So
I'm with you. But let me ask you this: what have you been listening to this week?
So I'm on a guitar kick big time because I've been recording in the studio. Real quick, I met a guy. I was on a podcast the other day, and he used to work for Paul Stanley from Kiss, and had a whole bunch of his guitars that he built for him in the studio, and he let me hold them and stuff. So I'm completely nerding out. So that said, I've taken it back to Hendrix, and I wanted to do this because being in the studio where you have all these technical things, you know, I'm like, yeah, they were doing cool stuff. They were doing it with limited ability and with tape and like limited tracks. So he stands out to me because of what he represents, and even like racially, like, who is this guy? Like, you know, it's like from outer space almost.
Yes.
So I always like to go back to Hendrix and just kind of get re-rooted in my basis of like blues, rock guitar, you know, solos, and just cool stuff. So that's where I'm at. How about you?
In fact, this album here is one of my favorite albums.
Ooh, it's one of the best records of all time.
Yeah, this is Marvin
Gaye. There's
Gaye's.
a beanie for Will.
Marvin Gaye's "Let's Get It On" was, to me, this broke all kind of barriers.
Yeah.
Not only in sales, but his format of music changed again.
Yeah.
He was more of a prophet, you know what I mean, instead of just a
singer for the people.
Absolutely. And when you hear those songs, a lot of people have never really listened to the lyrics.
Yeah.
They're so well written and so well produced.
You don't know how deep they really are
until you really listen to the words. You know what I mean? So this was one of my all-time favorites. And
I don't know if I have that one.
You should have. You need it.
I think I need that one in my life. If you have any extras in the store, let me know. I'll buy it.
And when you talk about Hendrix, I have a signed copy of his Bold album.
That wasn't nice. You just teased me with that one. All right.
But you know what? Y'all stick around because we have a nice show for you today. And what I'm going to do is we're going to introduce a friend of mine, longtime friend, Mr. Chuck Corby. And we're going to talk about his music, about his career, and how he's still cooking after all these years.
Oh, nice.
Okay? So we'll be right back at you with Chuck Corby.
Jack in the Box.
Welcome to Jack in the Box. This week I want to talk about wine decanters, right? Wine decanters in my family were, no, we didn't have them. You just poured it straight out of the bottle, you did your thing. But my grandfather had some of these wine decanters from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Oh, and it actually plays music, huh? But that's how unique it was. It's made of brass. The wine bottle fit right inside. You have to unscrew it. There's a little bit of work going to it. But it's kind of neat when you have company and they come in. Listen to that. Thanks for joining me with Jack in the Box. Welcome back. Let me introduce you to an old friend of mine. This gentleman right here is Mr. Chuck Corby, and I'd like you to meet my partner.
Welcome to the show, sir. Pleasure to meet you.
My pleasure.
Byron, I've been talking to Byron about you for a while now, and the fact that we finally hook up, right? So let me just set the stage as to what you represent here in Pittsburgh. You were with Chess Records.
Right.
You were with Phoebe Records. You wrote a book.
Right.
You're in 2 movies now, right? Is that right?
More than that, about 5.
5.
Yeah.
And the one that I really loved was Saloon with
The Saloon, then it was changed to Mob Boss.
That's exactly right.
With Bruno. Yeah.
Bruno Sammartino, yeah, which is kind of cool. But anyway, your records still are on fire, especially over in Europe. I mean,
Right.
Your stuff is in the Northern Soul books. My radio show, I do a lot of Chuck Corby stuff because I love what you brought and what you brought to it. So let's go back before, and you can throw in tidbits of your book at any time. But go back to where it all started for you.
Well, like most of us, I started out singing on the corner. I was a little kid, man. I mean, I'm talking about 3rd grade. And I used to go up to the older guys singing, let me sing in your group.
Yeah.
You know, I'll get out of here, kid. You know, get away, So I wrote a letter to Ted Mack. Remember Ted Mack?
Sure, amateur art, yeah.
So about a year, took about a year. I finally hear from him. Say they were gonna be in Pittsburgh, KDKA Studios, and auditioning people for the Ted Mack show. So I went to the guys on the corner and said, "Hey, man, you guys gonna let me in your groups?" "Oh, we told you, man. Go away, come back about 10 years." I said, "But I got this letter. I'm gonna be on the Ted Mack show."
They're like, "Oh, go over."
Yeah, it's all. Yeah, you can join the group. I said, "We got to be there Monday at 4:00." So let us have the letter. You know what happened.
The street talks.
Yeah. I'm standing there on Monday waiting I had a little sport jacket on, waiting. They went without me and they took my letter.
I love it.
So, but I wasn't ready anyway. But and then a couple of years later, I wanted to make a record. Like every kid, So I went to George Hyde.
Absolutely.
One track.
Yep.
And got a group of Jimmy and the Starliners, which Pecky was in that.
Pecky was in it, yes.
And George Saranovich.
Oh, yeah. Another one.
And Paul, who played with Jimmy Beaumont.
Yes.
And I can't remember the other guy. And Jimmy the Seed, of course. They backed me up on this little song that I wrote called Dorothy.
Dorothy, yeah.
And I took the record. I lived in Hayes at the time, which is a couple of miles from Homestead at the time, where Whammo, Porky was there.
Yep.
And I walked, it was cold. It was like really cold out that day. It was snowing. I walked from Hayes up to Whammo and went in, and the engineer goes, what do you want, son? I said, I just want to talk to Porky. I want to play my record. And so he went and got Porky. He said, can I help you, son? I said, yeah. He said, well, you're really shaking. Why are you shaking so much? He said, because... Is it that cold? I said, no, it's because I'm meeting you, Mr. Chetwood. He said, what do you need? I said, I got this record. He never even listened to it. He says, it ain't good. I said, I think so. He played it. And he started doing all his record hops at the time with the All Tears with Georgie Benson.
Absolutely.
And the Laurels, and we did that whole little thing. And
see that? It's history.
And then a few years later, I went back to him. And I went to New York. So I was 13, 14 years old, went to New York trying to get a record deal and come back very disappointed, of course.
Yeah.
Got stranded there, man. I was only like 14 years old. So and I went to Porky and I said, I give up. I'm not going to. He said, no, you can't give up. You got to go see Joe Averback, Phoebe Records.
There it is.
And that's how that.
Yep. And then from that, I wanted to tell you, this is kind of cool. I just want to plug your book for a second.
Oh, yeah.
You want to know the life story about Chuck and what he's been through. You should pick up a copy of this book. And where can you get that?
Amazon. eBay.
It's called Chuck Corby, Soul Survivor. And I love it because I know a lot of the history of Chuck. And I know his insides and his outsides, but the thing that I love about you the most is the fact that after all these years, you can still chirp like a bird. You know what I mean?
I just am just blessed because I don't do anything to, a lot of abuse, really. I don't know.
Now, how did you get introduced to chess?
Joe Averback.
Joe did, okay.
Well, because they owed me a favor because Little Milton covered Man Loves Too.
Yeah.
And that's what I was actually in favor. But I thought this is it. Well, I was with United Artists, do Veep.
Yeah.
And that's when I really blew that opportunity.
Yeah.
I was 18 years old. I was young and I was anxious, and we did. They took over Man Loves Too, and they signed me to a record contract. Yeah. And in the contract, if I had 2 hits in a row, I would have automatically went into the movies. But now it's the Vietnam War was on, and I wrote the song "Bring My Daddy Home."
Bring My Daddy Home. Yeah.
Joe, we got to put this out now. It's Christmas is coming. He said they're not ready for you, and you signed a contract. There's nothing we can do. Chess has Garnett Mims. Veep, had Garnett Mims, and Little Anthony. And you gotta wait. I said, we can't wait. He said, well, look, you signed the contract. I said, Joe, I'm not even old enough. I said, what? He said, you're telling me you went out of that contract? I said, yeah, but that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
Was it hard back then to get a deal, and then when you are signing the contracts back then, was it sort of like, was anyone walking you through it, or just like, here you go, kids, sign away.
That's exactly what
Because you're so excited to be on as an artist, you're not thinking about that because no one's ever really taught artists that we need to think that way. Was that how a lot of people were getting kind of pulled into these not so great deals back then?
That's exactly what happened. And another thing, just like you said before, is that I would get the record back. The record would come out and it would see written by Corby Phillips.
Yeah.
Who's Phillips?
Yeah.
Well, we know who's Phillips.
You split that right in half, didn't you?
Man.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
When do you think do you think it started to change over time? The artists kind of got hip to like, okay, hold on a second, I don't want to sign this deal. Or was there, I mean, for both of you guys, do you think there was a time where artists became a little bit more sensitive to the business side because everyone was getting such bad deals and getting ripped off?
It took me a long time.
Me too.
I mean, the game seems like it never really changed that much. You know, the industry's still kind of the same when it comes to that.
But you know, the difference was, as a kid coming from our type of neighborhood,
yeah.
you know, I was 16 when our first record on Steel
You guys
Time.
were young.
At 16 years old, and all I knew is that I was playing gigs, and the girls liked what I was doing.
Me too. It's like I married so many times. Not only that, you know, the movie, you know, Cadillac Records, it's exactly what they did to me, Joe Averbeck. That's right. It was like, co-sign for me for this Cadillac, for my house, you know, and a couple $100 in my pocket, you know.
It really played off the emotions of the artist.
Wow, you know, I came from nothing, you know.
Yeah.
But you were rich. Get
Yeah.
a couple $100.
Oh man, back in 19, I mean, I was going on the road making $150 a week. My dad was making $98 a week working construction. Right.
Yeah, so you're balling.
I said, man, I'm on top of the world, man.
I remember my dad saying to me that they wanted me to play polkas and country, right? And when my dad found out that I was playing rhythm and blues, it was like, there's no way you're allowed to do that, you know, until we saw first paycheck.
Well, maybe you can do a little more.
Yeah, then it was okay again. But I also want to touch on a couple more things, but we could have you on for an hour. But you just had a new album come out too that's killer. I've been playing it on my radio show, and it's like, tell me a little bit about how this came about.
Well, Jeffrey Ingersoll.
Yes.
The
Bone Daddy.
He's the man who owns Bone Dog Records, and he also now is one of the members of the group.
Yes, I saw that.
And for years he's been saying, Chuck, we got to do, and he, like you was saying, you know, your stuff over in Europe, man, it's like, you told me the same thing. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I know.
And you got to put something on. I was all done with recording. I said, I'm not gonna. But once I got back in the studio, man,
Felt good.
Yeah, we haven't stopped.
And you mentioned Pecky. Pecky singing on it with you.
Oh yeah, Pecky. We had some great players. Danny, Donahue, Kenny Blake, Robbie Klein, Jimmy
Monsters.
Britton. Yeah.
Nice.
And Jeff and I wrote some stuff along with Pecky and Jimmy. So, and the Steele brothers, a couple of their
Melvin
songs.
and Mervyn, yes.
So, you know, who did the stuff for the Spinners.
Absolutely. He was on the show.
Yeah, he was on the show?
Yeah.
And the album, thanks to you and everybody, it's pretty good.
And it's
the
really
book too, man. Thanks.
You should. I mean, you know, we're in that part of our life now where you should get the due, you know.
Yeah,
you really should,
yeah.
man. It's like, so anything new happening with you other than that?
Well, we're working on another.
I love it.
There it is.
We've been working
Keep it going.
on it. We got some, there's some stuff that I wanted to do for them. And plus we did a new version of City of Strangers. And Guess Who I Saw Today, which I did when I was with the Del Vikings.
Yes.
Originally.
Yes.
And then did it again with the Quiet Storm. Now this is the new version.
Yeah.
And Curtain Falls, we did a new version of that, and then a lot of originals that Jeff and I.
And I have to tell you, in my soul collection, always in my top 10 of the year is always City of Strangers. I can't help it. It's like, that is one of my all-time favorite records.
That's another one I didn't realize was that was my favorite song that I ever recorded. People think it was Honey Let Me Stay, but it was City of Strangers.
And Honey Let Me Stay is a great song. But there's something about City of Strangers, man. And you know what else? A lot of my listeners didn't know at the time. When they saw the Soul Communicators, they didn't realize it was you. And I'm going, that's Chuck Corby. And they're going, what? And then later when you read in between the lines, and it says Soul Communicator featuring Chuck Corby, you know what I mean? It's like, but that's what blew me away, because how do you not know this is Chuck Corby? You know, it's like.
That record's worth, I think Jeffrey said, $1,500 now.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Well, I'm glad I
City
have
of
my
Strangers,
copy.
he said it's up to 300.
That's why I keep those in my collection, because if I
And I
ever,
told you I used to give them away. I mean, how the hell did I know, right?
that's exactly
Back in
right.
the 60s, I ran out of candy. I'm giving them I want them records back. I'll give you all the
He
candy.
wants his vinyl.
We do a
Yeah.
segment at the end of
Phoebe.
each of the interviews, and we do a thing where we'll ask you 4 quick questions, and what first comes to your mind.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So if I say something like, "Chuck, tell me something old."
Me.
I felt it coming. That's like the number one answer. Something new.
Me.
Yeah, I mean, you're
It's
going
still
to music.
happening,
That's great.
yeah, and
Yes.
the new album coming out, it's going to be really cool. And then, how about something treasured? What do you treasure?
In a business or in my
Don't
Just in
life?
your life.
In your
My,
life.
my children and my grandchildren.
Yeah.
That's my whole life.
I love that, and that's so true. I
Right.
see you posing with the grandkids, man.
Right.
It's like,
And then something true. So maybe something that people don't know about you.
That,
it's in the book.
It's like buy the book.
oh, yeah,
Keep it on
yeah.
Amazon.
There's a lot of things that are going to be very. So, yeah. Read the book. I mean,
It's definitely something true, man.
yeah.
It's,
The whole thing is, yeah. If you're going to write a book, you better tell it.
you got to tell the
be
truth.
true.
Dude.
And to be honest with you, it was tough reliving some of the things.
I'm sure you did.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was times I was gonna back out of it, and man, it's just it was too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm glad you didn't. What we're going to do right now is take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to jam something with Chuck Corby and, of course, the master of disaster on the guitar right here. You know, I have to tell you real quick before we go to that, I've seen a couple more things on Facebook with you. Like, man, you were everywhere. I'm telling you, you were just playing someone else's guitars the other day and doing it. But I love it, brother.
Thanks, man.
We'll be right back at you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Byron's Bodega. Today I'm going to talk about the very first record I ever bought with my own money. As a kid, I was 7 years old. It's Gap Band 3. This record, now I had a record before that, but my mom bought it for me. Not the same. When you actually go and spend this was $7 back then. And you hand your money over, and there's an excitement like, I have my record. It's like, I took this home, and you would have thought this, I mean, it changed my life, really. And part of how I am now is totally because of this record. So I love these guys. They're all brothers. I ended up interviewing one of them much later when I worked at a rock magazine. But this was like the bomb. Like, actually, the song Drop the Bomb on Me is on this record. I played it into the ground over and over and over. I knew every song, every lick. And it's interesting how you don't realize what influences you, but the Gap Band had a major influence on me. And just having this vinyl as my first like real purchase made me feel like official as a music fan as a little kid. And it really hasn't stopped deep into my adult years. So I wanted to share this with you, part of my obsession with vinyl and my love for the Gap Band.
They call it Stormy Monday, but Tuesday's just as bad. Oh, they call it Stormy Monday, but Tuesday's just as bad. Wednesday's the worst. And Thursday's oh so sad. Yes. Let me tell you now.
Friday, Saturday I go out to play.
Yeah,
It's coming back.
I hear it.
Yeah, there it is.